Hey guys, let's get this started. Sorry for being a bit late to start this. Let's do it. Let's just get straight in. Boom, 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 boom. What do I need to do? Share my screen. Hey, Print on Demand. Thanks for joining. All right, let's see if that works. Put the chat up there. Okay, so that alert is 2 minutes old, so I'll ignore that. And let me just check my new alert come through. That was for opening line potentially. All right, let me turn that configuration off. Okay, let's see what we have set up for soccer. Min drop, showing off the how sensitive the min drop percentage filter is. I'll put that bit back down to 8. Odds range 1 to 4, 50 to pretty much infinite. All of the markets, yeah, that's pretty good. Basketball, whack this down to 8. And then we should be good to go. Okay, so that was very thin EV, but that's fine. Are you sharing your screen? I'm not seeing nothing. Okay. You're not seeing anything? Yeah, I should be sharing my screen. It looks like I'm sharing my screen. Anyway, can the rest of the chat let me know if I'm actually successfully sharing my screen or whether you're looking into the abyss? What bookies do you use? I'm currently using BetTom and Midnight. I've put the links to those 2 bookies in the description if you want to go check them out. I think they're only UK books, unfortunately. They're not the best, but I've been limited by most of the good ones. So unfortunately, I'm kind of forced into using these ones. It's all black on my end. Let me back out and come back. Okay, cool. But yeah, that bet was very thin EV, but that's fine because looking at the data that's come out of Pod, we collect a lot of data on our users. Even the thin EV bets, the edge isn't going to be huge, but you're still going to make money over the long term. So I do recommend placing those bets. Okay, cool. You see it now. Okay, let's get back into it. So that was way better EV on this Poprad versus Zvolen match on the two-way money line. Do I have Pod open somewhere else as well? The pinging is pretty loud. Let me just mute the alerts pretty quick because that's probably annoying for you guys as well. But what if odds bounce back, then you lose EV? How do we protect ourselves from that? Yeah, so it's a very good question. I think kind of the simple answer is you can't really protect yourself from that. It's going to happen a certain percentage of the time. But the key is kind of over the long run, over a very big sample size, you're still going to do very well, even if you have a few of those situations happen. And they will happen. If the cash out is obvious and you still have a full cash out and your EV has gone from plus 10% to minus 10%, and you're still being offered the full cash out, then I recommend taking it. But don't really spend time kind of like managing all your bets. Try and figure out whether there's an optimal cash out. I always say to people that your time is better spent just finding new bets, because I think even if you kind of manage all your bets and improve your yield by like 0.15%, you're actually going to make a lot more money in the long term if you focus more on the turnover aspect than the like optimize, like maximizing your yield by cashing out stuff. So that's my opinion on that. But about 75% of your bets will end up with positive CLV. So 25% are going to end up as bad bets, but that's just kind of par for the course, and you're still going to do well in the long term. Okay, so I was alerted about the -1 there, but I don't have -1. I have -1.5 with my bookie. So let's just check. Okay, Pinnacle aren't quoting -1.5 either, but they are quoting -0.5 for the home, which is 2.2, and I'm getting 2.05, so that's not value. So always check if you get alerted for like a -1 spread, but your bookie only has the half spreads, then make sure to always check the alternates on Pod to see if there is value, because often you'll actually find value on one of the spreads that your bookie does offer, because obviously all the spreads move together and all the totals move together as well. So it's the same as totals. Thanks. Yeah, I checked. I think it's better for EV to pick games with bigger limits. The odds are more stable there. Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you on that. I think if that's what you've kind of your approach and what you believe, then for sure go with that. I'm a bit more aggressive. I kind of bet on everything, no matter the limit, no matter the vig. My only kind of condition is the EV has to be positive right after the alert has come through. And when I first kind of started Pod and started this strategy, I was pretty skeptical about the value in the lower limit stuff. But again, looking at a lot of the data that has come out of like our user base, our users betting, I'm pretty confident betting on the low limit stuff. So we're looking at the under 19 here. So you got to be careful because there are two different Bosnias versus, oh no, that's Netherlands actually, but yeah, under 19. Georgia, minus 0.75 on the home team. Handicaps. Home team, minus 0.75, 2.8. Novig price is 2.924, so we're not taking that bet. Let's look at the money line, 2.36 on the home. Half-time, full-time. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, we'll move on. This is my first time using this book, so kind of getting used to it a little bit. Every book's kind of different. Bigger limits, fewer alerts. I play even smallest limits. So far, so good. But agree, depends on whatever works for you. Yeah. I'll recheck this one here, haven't I? Bosnia 2.4 bet Tom. Let me check. Thanks for the heads up. So we're looking at this, weren't we? 2.37. Yeah, I was too slow. Well, there's a slight EV based on that. No big price. Yeah, I'm so used to seeing the money line right at the top. Okay, draw no bet. Cardiff Met. So the away. Let's go to handicaps. Okay, that is value. Let me get a bet down there. Some selections can be combined in the same bet. Okay, I'm being an idiot. I have got an ACCA going. Let me take away the Bosnia. It's still getting odds of 3. So let me just double check that. 3 on the draw no bet for Cardiff. And it's Colwyn Bay versus Cardiff Met. 3. And then 20 quids. And then let's just tag that with the bookie I use, so bet on. Because that's a decent bet. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Nice Guy, I agree. It's frustrating, and I think there probably is something a little bit suspect going on with some of those leagues. A bit off topic, but what is your view on writing predictive code for the outcome of the game and betting the handicap and total if you can find value between your predictions and the house? My opinion is very cool, but that's above my pay grade. I can't code and I don't know much about predictive algorithms. But for people more intelligent than me, then I'm sure they can make it work. That is, what am I doing here? Okay. So Tel Aviv. That is the correct match. I'm looking at the -1 on the away team. So let's go to handicaps. -1, 2.9. And here I'm looking at 2.931. Okay, so no value. So under 2.5. 2.14, 2.05, but let's check midnights. price again for under 2.5. Yeah, way off. Have interest. What's the under 5? Under 3.5. Yeah, it's interesting. These guys don't have any totals. No, City, that's just the home team. It's just the away team. They haven't got any match totals. Okay, so are there many EV bets coming in from sharp books? Does it make sense using pod when using sharp books? Thanks. Yeah, good question. Short answer is no. I mean, I'm sure people are using pod in some way to find an edge on different sharp books, but just following like this specific dropping odds approach, you're not going to have any success with sharp books or exchanges, or at least I haven't seen the evidence of success yet. So what do you do when you get on a selection that shortens and then drifts straight back out after you play? Stay on or trade out? Yes, we had this question earlier, and it's an important question to ask. I stay on unless it's very obvious and there's a full cash out and my EV is like minus 10%. Then I will cash out, but I'm not going to exert any energy on trying to like manage all of my bets. I much prefer just trying to find new bets. I think in the long term, the increase in turnover will be more profitable than increasing my yield slightly. So I'm looking at this match here, and I'm looking at the money line Bueno. So money line away 2.09. No bueno. Let's try and find it here. Yep. And 1.91. Again, no bueno. So as you can see, it can be a bit of a grind for sure, especially when you get on these like shittier books that don't really have great coverage and they're not very generous with their odds. The VIG is pretty high, but you just have to grind it out. Is it? I say trade outs. I know it's taking small loss, obviously. Yeah. Again, I think it's a little bit personal preference. Is it possible to filter out quarter lines in pod? Using totals, many books missing those. So no, it's not possible yet. But so for example, here I got alerted for the under 2, but let's say my book only has the quarter under 2.25 for the totals, then I would click into the alert and I would click here and I would look for the under 2.25, which is here, right? Because they all move together. So usually if there's a move on the under 2, there's a move on the under 2.25, right? So there's probably value or could be value there. So it's always worth checking to see if there's value on the lines that your book does cover. But we should add a filter for the quarter lines for sure. That would be a good addition. Man. So on the away, minus 0.05, I got 3.3 there. The no vig price is 3.181. So that's actually pretty decent value. 3.75% EV. I'm happy with that. And just make sure to log that. Okay, so what do I think about value bets on totals for soccer and basketball? Are they profitable in the long run? Is there some bigger vig that doesn't work out so well? I don't use totals often. So yeah, totals are profitable for both soccer and basketball. So we got a third-party independent reviewer called SBC to come in and analyze 345,000 bets from our users. And that's one thing they looked at. And yeah, those totals markets are profitable. So I recommend betting them. No, I definitely recommend betting totals, yeah. All three market types using pods are profitable based on that analysis they ran. And I do trust them. They're very good at doing that complicated statistical analysis stuff. And yeah, so money line spreads and totals, I bet all three. So the no vig is 1.871. And I'm getting offered 1.85. I'm getting offered 1.9 there. So let's take that bet. Is there any stake calculator coming to pod at some point? Yeah, at some point. Kelly calculator, probably Kelly, half Kelly, quarter Kelly. That's what we'll start with. If anyone has any other staking strategies that you want us to build a calculator for, then you can put it in the chat and I can pass it on to our tech team. All right, Saran Loiret Handball. Here we go. And we're looking at the over 64. So they don't have any totals here. But I wonder if the money line changed with that. Okay, that's two-way, that's three-way. Got to be careful not to bet on a three-way when you're looking at a two-way money line. Okay. Doesn't look like they have it. Okay, how did I mess that up? Yeah, the price just bounced back. You see, look at that. But that's just kind of the nature of it. Occasionally, that will happen. And if you look at my cash out, it's a terrible cash out, so I'm just going to leave it. So 1.83. Unfortunately, that's just looking like a bad bet, but in the long run, over a big sample size, it shouldn't be too hurtful. What I've noticed with this book, Betson, they offer the shittest cash out. So no value there, but let's check midnights. Not covering it. So yeah, definitely is a bit of a grind, but no, it's just the way it is. I'm yet to find a way to make money without grinding to like some degree, you know. This is a relatively easy way to make money. Missed the start of the session. Is this a good setup to have mobile version on desktop on left and books on right? For me, yeah. I just prefer the mobile interface. The design for me is a little bit better. But I think it does make navigating to the alternate lines a little bit more difficult. So it's a trade-off. Just gonna grab some water. Back in a sec, guys. If you have any questions, then just drop them in the chat and I'll do my best. And now we sit and wait. What max drops would you recommend for someone trying to minimize variance as much as possible? I have mine set to 8%, but if you're trying to minimize variance, then probably higher, although it doesn't really have an effect on variance per se, but it will have an effect on and like the EV percentage you get. What am I doing? I'm already on the event. So I'm looking at handicap, home, minus 0.75, 2.5. Terrible odds. Bet Tom need to sort that out. I was wondering, how do you deal by being limited with bookies? Do you buy accounts? I struggle with finding soft books. So, let me answer this question. I've only just restarted betting, so I have plenty of bookmaker accounts available to me. Back in the day, when I started betting, I got limited by the bookies on that I could sign up to using my personal ID. And then I decided to build a business instead of going down the route of trying to get all these new accounts in and buy all these new accounts. It's not something I'll necessarily speak about in detail, but I think if you go down that route, you can find a way to make it work and to scale it that way. But just be careful, because obviously there are lots of people trying to defraud you out there. So you need to go about it in an intelligent and careful way. Sorry, I meant max odds to bet. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. 1 to 3.5, I think, is fine. I have mine set to 1 to 4. I'm sure there's a calculator online which you could use to kind of see what sort of variance you get with different odds, but you don't want to be restricting yourself too much. You don't want to be too scared of variance, because that's really going to impact your turnover. Like, if you take it to the extreme, imagine setting your odds to 1 to 1.5 because you're very scared of variance. You're just not going to get that many bets off. And variance doesn't reduce your edge. It just makes that ride more bumpy. So if you can kind of prepare yourself for a little bumpier of a ride, I think in the long term, you'll do a lot better because you'll get more bets down. So that's my opinion. And, the best way to manage variance or to kind of like minimize variance is to place more bets, right? Yeah, no worries. These books are from the UK. So Midnight and BetTom. I'm not sure if they're available outside of the UK, but worth checking. The links are in the description to these two books. Don't worry, they're not affiliate links or anything. I'm not using Bet365. I've been limited. Do you have many alert configs for football? I've just got one. I can show you it quickly now. So I guess you're talking about soccer. This is my soccer config if you want to have a look. Take a screenshot, and then just in case, this is my American football, but it's disabled because I don't really bet American football. You know, why is this match coming up? Why? I don't understand. Do you only bet games a few hours before they start so that the lines on Pinnacle are strong and therefore trustworthy? Good question. No, I pretty much bet anything, no matter how low the limit is, how high the vig is, how far away from match start it is. I'm betting it as long as the price I'm getting is better than the no vig price. And I know that that is not something everybody does, so it's kind of each to their own on that like matter. But I would tell you that looking at quite a bit of data, I think you can be more aggressive than you might initially assume. Bouncing around a lot. Again, I mean, how do these teams kind of have any of the spelling of these teams? I don't understand. It doesn't look like, don't know why I deleted that. Doesn't look like, yeah, they don't have this particular match. I bet mainly soccer and basketball. But I have configuration set up for, let me show you, baseball, basketball, handball, hockey, soccer, tennis, volleyball. It's not that I have any like particular obsession with soccer and basketball. It's just that that's where the opportunities are. What am I doing? This Bosnia game that I missed the bet on earlier. Need to redeem myself. Okay, match betting. Where am I? Okay, so home team 2.2. There we go. Redemption. Can you bet rugby union on pod? No, we don't support rugby union, unfortunately. Do you find better results / variance with one particular sport? I do not, but I've only just restarted betting, so I don't have a big enough sample to kind of speak on that. So come back to me. But I know our users have a huge edge on baseball. I think the yield is like 9%, and I know they have a huge edge on volleyball, like 22% yield or something. I think the soccer edge is like 3.5%, maybe a little bit higher. So the edge definitely does vary from sport to sport. Where am I at? Aluminji over 2. Let's go over 2.5, 1.61. This is a bit of a nightmare. No value. Okay. Let's check out this money line, nice and easy. We're getting Shemesh 2.05. So let's whack 20 on there and then log that. So that's our best bet of the session so far. I would, yeah. I make most money on basketball spreads consistently using Pinnacle odds movements. Yeah, basketball spreads, there's lots of good value there. Interesting you say about baseball / volleyball. What's the volume like? The volume's not massive. Not massive at all. But the edge is very strong. So for example, we sent off 345,000 bets to an independent reviewer to analyze, and 200,000 were soccer, 100,000 were basketball, and then the third biggest was tennis at like 14,500. So the vast majority of the bets were in those top two, and I don't know what the exact number was for baseball and volleyball, but there aren't that many bets left to dish out among the remainder of the sports, so the volume isn't going to be up there. But if you look up Smart Betting Club, Pinnacle Odds drop a review like a month ago now. Not even a month ago, probably 3 weeks ago or something. They released a big review of our service, and they analyzed those 345,000 bets that I'm talking about, and they break down the edge by sport, and they look at a bunch of different things, like, you know, what was the edge when the limit was really low and stuff like that. So I would encourage you to give that a Google. It is behind a paywall, but I don't think it's too expensive. Again, don't have that. I forget if this book has this match as well. It doesn't, so let me mute that. How much buffer do I use on expected value? 0. I used to use probably like 1.5%, but nowadays I am being very aggressive based on new data / like new thinking on what really leads to success with this betting. It's very much a volume game. And I think even if you're betting 0.5% EV, I know it's slim, but over a sample size of 2,000 bets at 0.5% EV, you're still going to be profitable. That's kind of my opinion anyway. But that being said, of course, if you have, let's say you have a bankroll of $10 and you're staking $1 on each bet, and you've got 9 bets already placed and you have $1 left, and you have 2 betting opportunities, right? One that has EV of 0.5% and one that has EV of 10%. Of course, you're going to take the 10% one. So if you're kind of getting to your last few bets before your whole bankroll is locked up, then perhaps start to implement more of a margin of safety, or like a hurdle, just to make sure you're getting down bets on the best EV possible. But that's not really necessary. To be honest, I'm not sure I'm understanding your question, Penny. I think you're probably wording it right, but don't have enough IQ points. Would it not be more beneficial to take the line between 1.7 and 2 odds? For example, that Israel football you took, straight win 2.05, minus 0.25 was 1.85. Interested to know thought process. Thanks. Okay, so you're asking why didn't I take the spreads when there was probably more EV on the away minus on the, sorry, not the away, but the team that wasn't Israel. I don't know whether they're home or away. Minus 0.25. To be honest, yeah, there might have been more EV on that spread, but I don't really worry about taking the very best EV play on a match. I just want to make sure I get an EV play down, if that makes sense, because if I kind of spend time trying to find the optimal play after I get an alert, then I might actually miss the opportunity entirely. Can you repeat, please, where I find the audit which mentioned? Okay, so Google Smart Betting Club, Pinnacle Odds Dropper Review 2025, something like that. Is it that? Yeah. So obviously I read it. There's actually a lot of other good stuff in this magazine as well. The event contracts in the USA Insight. So talking about like Kalshi and Polymarket was pretty interesting. I don't make any money at all from this magazine, by the way, but the people who write it and do it, they're very good people. Do you bet flat stakes or use Kelly? I bet flat stakes. Quick, easy, it works. I'm not too fussed about variance minimization. I like to think I can handle it, although we'll see. One day I think we'll add, this was talked about earlier, we'll add a Kelly calculator directly into Pod. And then once that's added, I might switch over to Kelly just because it'll make it really, really easy. But right now, just go into a separate tab to calculate the stake is too long of a process, and I don't think it's worth it. You'll miss opportunities and just gives you a bit of a headache. When you do start using Kelly, though, if you are using Kelly, make sure to round your bets, because having like 20.57 is going to flag you as like an arbor or somebody using Kelly by the book, so you'll get limited quicker. Okay, yeah, you'll use flat stakes. Yeah, I recommend that. Okay, guys, I'll wrap up the stream now because I've been going for an hour, but I will be running another one very, very soon. Hopefully I was able to answer some of your questions. I mean, this format's great because it's a really good way to answer your questions, really. I'm not sure if I'm showing anything particularly interesting, but the tool I'm using, Pod, is linked in the description. The bookies I've been using also linked in the description, so make sure to check out the tool at least. I don't know if you'll be able to access the bookies in your particular countries, but it's been fun, and thank you for all the questions, and thanks for joining. And keep an eye on your email inbox and on Twitter for the next stream. I'd love to see you there, and hopefully I'll have a Bet365 account for the next one. That'll be fun. I'll be able to get a lot more bets off. You'll see like a big difference. So yeah, fingers crossed. Right, see you guys.